Michael Shoebridge is going to join us now. He is the Strategic Analysis Australia Director, and he joins us now to talk about what's been happening in Iran. Now, Michael, what I'm fascinated here is at some point, Iran theoretically runs out of missiles. We know that they could well be supplied by Russia. They could be, on some level, reinforced by China. But let's talk about drones, because that seems to be something that Russia has used in Ukraine and Iran is using in part, as we see today, to even go after Australians in Dubai. How strong is their drone game?
Paul, you're right to focus on it. It's very strong, and they make them themselves. In fact, the damaging drones that Russia has used were initially supplied by Iran, and now they're Russian copies of that Jihad drone. Even the Americans have copied the Iranian Jihad drone. They've got something called the Lucas, which is a direct copy of the Jihad, and they've used it against Iran. That's kind of ironic. But those Iranian Jihad drones have proven more effective at getting through Gulf state and American and Israeli defences than missiles so far. And the Iranians can keep launching them. They don't need the specialised missile launchers they need for their missile arsenal.
Well, I was reading in the Japan Times that these things cost about $24,000. The missiles that are being used to go after them cost, what, $4 million. So, again, the cost and the ability to make more drones than missiles, we assume part of what's being targeted by the US and Israel would be where these things are being manufactured. Do we have any insight into whether their capacity to do this is being damaged? Because it does seem to be something that can extend the lethality of what they're trying to do in response to the US and Israel.
There hasn't been good data on drone production facilities being struck by Israel or America, but you can bet they're high on the target list. We know munitions manufacturing and missile production have been targets and struck. But think about the Houthis. The Houthis fought the US Navy to a standstill over the Red Sea, and they managed to keep putting drones together and missiles together, building some themselves, while being pummeled by the Americans. If the Houthis can do that, the Iranians can too. And I think the drone is more effective, it's cheaper, it's easier to conceal, and you don't need the big launcher that missiles do. So we'll see more drone attacks in the coming days and weeks.
So obviously, for want of a better term, the payload, the punch that comes with a missile is bigger. But how much damage can a drone do? I'll move off drones next, but how much damage can it do? Is it something that is able to fire multiple shots and therefore is able to target an individual? But is it enough of a payload to whack into a ship? Like how hardcore is the payload?
It's like a flying bomb. So you could see the damage it's done to buildings. So one of them struck that hotel in Dubai.
Oh, wow.
It set fire to a large oil storage facility in Oman. And 2 drones hit the US Embassy in Saudi Arabia today, not causing extensive damage. They've also damaged Amazon data centres, and Amazon's struggling to get them back to work. So they're like a flying bomb.
So what I'm interested in here is that one of the reasons why seemingly there's been a series of red lines that means there's only so much you can do to Iran, there's only so hard you can shake the cage, there's only so deep you can kick the hornet's nest, metaphor upon metaphor here, but you get my point, is because it's not like taking on a Saddam Hussein. It's not like taking on the previous leadership, which is, of course, back in charge in Afghanistan. So the expectation here, more lives, and this thing could go as long as a month. But what is your insight here into Iran's capacity to keep fighting? Because at some point, there'll be missiles that they'll run out of in the Strait, the Americans trying to shoot back, and presumably whatever's coming to reload them becomes a target as well.
Well, there's a balance between how much defensive stuff do the Israelis, the Gulf states and the Americans have. And you're right, those things like the Patriot missile interceptors, which are very effective, are extraordinarily expensive. You know, $4 million a missile. the THAAD, Theatre High Altitude Area Defence, is also extraordinary, eye-wateringly expensive. And the Americans aren't making enough of them to refill their stockpiles. So the Americans need to destroy the missile and missile launch capabilities of Iran really quickly, but they'll still be vulnerable to the cheaper drones. And so the war, if it extends, for Iran to keep attacking, it'll be drone attacks. And that's the problem. And the Americans are putting more planes into the region. The Israelis have broadened the war against Hezbollah now because Hezbollah can fire missiles into Israel. This is likely to be extended, and Iran just has not to lose. They don't have to win. They just have to soak it up and not lose.
Yeah, correct. That concept of sort of tiring out the enemy. This, again, has been part of the theory about what's been playing out in Ukraine. That's ticked over 4 years into the 5th year of that conflict. Michael, thank you for the insight. I really appreciate it. I think lots of people watching will have got a lot out of what you've just said. I know I have, particularly that question of drones, which I think we will continue to focus on in the next little while. Thank you for all your efforts and helping us out tonight.